Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Swissman 15 back with another episode of Noob School. This is going to be Siege Tactics, and for that, I have brought the Siege Master Pixelated upon me.
The Siege Master. I don't know about that, but I do enjoy playing Siege, that's for sure.
And you were telling me, we should just start out with this. You've been telling me about this interesting tactic where you bring, what is it, 16 Gothic Knights?
Oh,
And
right, yeah. 16 Gothic Knights. Make sure you're playing on the vanilla so you have that two-handed glitch. It works out nicely.
definitely.
No, never do that. Don't ever do that. It's a horrible strategy.
You shouldn't be teaching us bad strategies, Apollo.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's going to be no PowerPoint this time. It's just going to be us rambling. So let us ramble.
But it's terrible.
Well, first thing I would say is infantry is like the basis for the entirety of the siege.
Yeah, on both sides, attacking and defending infantry is key, and those choke points, so
Yeah, it's kind of good if you get like your infantry in one line, and then you have your skirmishers like javies behind, which is what you like to do, and
yeah.
just kill everything.
Yeah, and pikemen are a great pickup for defending only though. I mean, I guess you could attack with pikemen, but they're
Especially
not.
if you can get like good ones from like France or Spain, they will hold forever.
Yeah, yeah, they really will.
And you should know the factions that you're choosing when you're and how to play them. Like if you're gonna bring an Eastern faction, don't get a bunch of infantry because they don't have good infantry.
Yeah, I honestly, personally, I think if you want to go Eastern, they're better at defending than attacking. Because of their great skirmishers and their Nafatoons.
And the Naftoons and the Naftoons.
In the Nafatoons, yeah.
Yeah,
Nafatoons will destroy armies if you can get them set up properly.
because it's already like they're already prone to rout. Plus Naftoons which rout everything, so it's just
Yeah,
twice the rout.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can use them to attack. Yeah, I think it's just harder, to set them up.
Okay. Think we should break it up this way. Let's start by doing defense, and then we can do
Okay.
attack later. All right. So defense tactics. What do you think is most important?
Um, I see a lot of people do this, and they always give up the first layer wall really fast. It makes it really easy for the attackers to like knock down one wall and then march in. That's never a good thing. You want to like it's hard to tell whether you should defend the wall or not. Um, but it's a good strategy to bluff.
Yeah, what I
Mm,
see some players do is like put a bunch of some random units by the towers just so that if they start walking by, they have to get shot to pieces, so they have to use more ammunition to either take down the
yeah.
towers or take down more breaches
Yeah,
in the wall.
because if you have your army and you kind of have this poker face on to where like I'm gonna fight for the first layer, it's gonna make the attackers be more cautious, knock down all the towers, make sure they have multiple holes in the wall so they can flank around, and then as soon as they start marching up their army, you just call a retreat, and you wasted most of their ammo
And a
from
lot of
the
time.
and a lot of time, which, if you're playing a siege battle, make sure you have like a good 2 hours, because
Yeah, they take eons. Even especially with lag, if you have some bad lag in a siege, you might as well just commit your entire life to it.
yeah. And then someone disconnects in the last second of the game.
Yes,
Yes.
every time. No,
Siege
right
battles.
after you finish the bombardments and right when you're about to start the actual fighting, someone
Yeah.
disconnects.
As soon as you're having fun, it's someone lags out.
And something that I like to do on defense is that for when they are first attacking, I like to bring like one or two cav units and just have them go out and harass. Because if the enemy has no cav to counter them, you can get some awesome charges or take out their
Yeah.
artillery.
Yeah, that's a strategy I don't personally do a lot, but I've seen it a lot, and it's highly effective if you use it properly. Like I see people get two generals bodyguard without the general in them, so it's a very deadly unit, and it's small, so you can maneuver around, units.
And they have the 2 hit points so that when you get the first barrage of arrows, less will die.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you could definitely get some cav. It's expensive though, so you want to make sure to be successful, taking out the enemy already or taking out a key unit. but it's certainly a strategy that you could. I think that's a strategy you really have to practice, and not just doing it, but like determining when to do it, basically.
Yeah, and then something we should talk about is putting archers on the walls is not as good as people would actually think.
Yeah, okay, so the walls are extremely buggy in this game, and there are opportunities to put archers up on the wall. Like it's not always a bad thing. You know, like maybe they run out of ammo, so they can't really knock down the walls anymore. So you can put archers up there and shoot at the enemies marching through the gap or whatever.
But a lot of
But
times they end up shooting like those I don't know what you call those little like parts of the wall that go higher than the wall to protect them. They actually shoot
yeah,
into it because the game is stupid that way.
yeah, that can happen. Also, if you're getting bombarded, now this is something a lot of people don't know, and well, a lot of new people, because it makes sense. You wouldn't think this could happen, but it does. When you're running archers on the wall and they start bombarding you with artillery, if they're running and then it hits the wall, they stop running.
Because that's exactly what any logical person would do on a wall that's falling
They
apart.
they get shell shock and they're just like, oh God, what do we do? So make sure you babysit them and make sure they get off that wall, basically.
And
Um,
some just because we're on a related subject, this is more for attack. But if you see someone on defense who has archers on a wall that can't be destroyed, sometimes you can destroy both the walls next to them, and then everything that's in the middle section of the wall, they don't have anywhere to go down, so they just drop dead.
yeah, yeah. I learned that recently. I didn't know that for the longest time. And Emperor of the Great Unknown, he did that to my archers, and I was like, what the hell? I was so mad. But
Yeah, Paladin Bob was testing that with Captain Invisible. I was with voice chat at the time, and then Captain had no idea what Bob was trying to test. He's like, "Bob has gone insane," and then finally he realizes, "Oh my god, all my units are dead on the wall."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean Siege is really fun. It's like a chess game and you have to be one step ahead of your opponent. And knowing when to retreat or fight is I think the most important, skill you can have in a siege.
Yeah, and
And
for defense, when it's really important to bring skirmishers because skirmishers, since infantry is usually about the same, skirmishers will determine how the battle goes in some cases. And it's
yeah.
important to know that crossbows are actually not as good in a siege as the composite bows because they have to shoot upwards and then they don't shoot
Yes.
well as the composite bow will.
Yeah, that's true. There are certain situations where crossbows can be extremely deadly in a siege. You know that strategy I use all the time where I'll pin a unit on the wall. So basically, say they have siege equipment and they get up on the wall, and then I have two infantry pinning them on the wall. And then down below, I'll have a crossbow unit that'll shoot up at the wall towards them, and it'll get a ton of kills.
And really damage morale because almost counts as a flank because it's another flank that's been
Right.
like beaten up
Yeah.
from
But so I think it's always a good idea to mix composite and crossbows together when defending. Just so you have the option.
Mhm. And if you're on defense, a really useful artillery piece. It's useful on attack too, but used in a slightly different way, I would say. But for defense, if you have a faction that can get mortars, and you can get mortars on the defense with the rules allowing it, you could actually get really great routes in the bottleneck points if you put a little experience. It's very, very accurate. Or if you want to be even more funny, you can just aim at the general once it's inside the castle, and you can end up killing it.
Yeah, I think a mortar's a great artillery piece for defending because, like you said, destroys morale. You can kill huge choke points of troops. You do take the risk of killing some of your own troops, but I think it's worth the risk. And also, like you said, you can go for the general, so that puts pressure on the attackers. Attackers really like to take their time and set up, but if you shoot them with mortars, it makes them anxious. So
Yeah,
mortar definitely good.
and if you have, say, the generals nearby the any of the fights that you have, it's giving morale. But if you have the mortar and they want to get the general away so it doesn't get killed, then you
Right.
have less morale for the troops that are fighting there, and you can end up
Yeah,
routing them.
exactly. It's kind of like a zoning element. It keeps them away from the fight. Now, honestly, the mortar is pretty inaccurate. It's not super inaccurate, but you just have to be patient. And personally, I would go for bigger groups of troops rather than a general. Um, I think that it'd be more effective that way.
Yeah, and something that I saw more recently is if you bring a ballista, it's very, very cheap, and if you put it, say, in your town square, especially for like the Islamic castle or something, and then you just
Yeah.
fire to the choke point, it'll fire over your soldiers for the most part, and then just hit the enemy, and you'll just have a long line of dead enemy.
It's very accurate. Same with the serpentine. The serpentine, it's a bit more expensive, but I think the serpentine's really great at city defense because you have those long streets of houses, and you can just fire that serpentine, just kill like hundreds of enemies, just like a bowling ball, going through pins.
Yeah, and if you're on defense or even attack, if you have archers, you it's a lot better to bring archers that are good at melee because then once they're out of ammo, you're like if they are just peasant crossbows, you're like these are useless to me now. I can't use
Yeah,
them. If you have
yeah,
Scots Guard, you have an infantry.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Sometimes I like getting just archers because I feel like Scots Guard, you might have a lot of ammo left, and or they use up their ammo and they're really tired, so their fighting ability is not going to be the best. But I think I guess attacking and defending, it would be good to bring versatile archers. It's just they're more expensive. So depending on the money, I think it will depend whether to bring that.
Yeah, and I had something for defense, and now I've completely forgotten it. I feel like it's very important.
Javies are very good for defense.
Yeah, like any if you have any skirmishers at all, Nafatoon's Javies, especially the short range one, if you put them right behind the infantry, like we said, you can just fire over your infantry, and they will get a ton of kills.
Yeah, just make sure to use them at very key points of the siege. Don't use them right away as soon as it happens. Because sometimes there might be little fights at the beginning, and then you retreat, and you have that massive choke point for the town center fight, and that's when Javies really get a ton of kills.
Yeah, so I think that's the basics for defense. If we think of anything, we can sure just interject. But we can move on to attack now. So
Alrighty.
want to open on that, Apollo?
Yeah, attack is a lot of fun. I love attacking because I feel like it brings more strategy than defending, and I like bringing different kinds of elements for attacking and trying different strategies out. But attacking is basically, if I had to sum it up, patience and teamwork. That's basically it. Yeah,
Yeah. What happens is that you're like, I want to get in there. It's like you have to make sure that you've gotten your artillery, you've breached the walls you want to breach, you have it set up, and then you gotta coordinate to go with your allies at the same time. Don't just rush in.
yeah, that's the key. I mean, if you want to win, you have to attack at the same time,
And
or or teammates will get double teamed.
yeah, pretty much, or they'll get surrounded if you leave.
Yeah.
And never open a breach that you're not going to go into, because then what's going to happen is that the defenders will see, hey, they're not using that breach. Let me go around and
Yeah,
attack them.
you do risk that for sure. Make sure you bring your arty, and just because you have an arty piece, bring siege equipment. Even if you do not use it, it's free. So why not bring it? It gives you more options. So say if you're fighting in the choke points, later you can send up a ladder, and then you can flank around troops. It keeps the defenders scrambled.
And what I've seen people do is like when you bring siege towers, and then you bring them in to the town. If the defenders have mortars or any artillery, they won't. If they try to shoot, they'll hit the siege tower. Or you can put in the breaches. It protects against any like missile fire that's trying to go through the breach, and it's a very very effective tactic.
Yeah,
So
that's actually a tactic I haven't really tested out a lot. I don't do that a lot, and that's something I want to look into and trying out.
yeah, I've seen
Uh,
I've seen more and more people do it now, and I'm like,
yeah.
at first I was like, what the hell are they doing? Why? And then I was like, oh, my javelins are shooting straight into the siege tower, and they're useless now.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like an interesting strategy.
And a lot of people will get like even in like low money siege battles, correction there. People will bring basilisks, which are the most expensive artillery that you can get besides like the Grand Bombard from the Turks. And it's
Yeah.
not really worth it compared to just getting a Culverin because they have the same amount of ammo and do about the same damage to the walls. Just not going to help.
Yeah, like you said, it depends on the money. If you have a ton of money, just get the best of whatever, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes people play with ridiculous amounts of money to where there's no strategy in picking units. It's just like spam conquistadors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Gothic Knights.
Or Gothic Knights. No, don't ever, ever spam Gothic Knights.
Yeah, two-handers just are very limited in use in this siege. Maybe one or two in case they have cav, but beyond that, they're just not
I
going to
mean,
do
if you're
much.
if you're playing in the expansion, they have more capabilities. You can flank around and they really chew up units. But in vanilla, you're better off with like big defense units like feudal knights, shipwreck knights, and
Yeah. And some different things is that what happens when you go into siege is that the best factions sort of flip in some cases. Like Hungary's, I would say, not as good. Even though Captain Visible would probably shoot me for saying that because he likes to use Hungary during a siege. They just don't have enough options infantry-wise. But then you have Scotland, which is usually not so good in the field, and then they have like the best siege force you could ever want.
Yeah, exactly. We should go over really good defense and attacking forces. I mean, it's pretty much the same both sides, but good defense armies. Scotland is very good. I'm pretty sure they
Denmark.
can bring Denmark. You like Denmark? Yeah,
Yeah.
they certainly have a lot of unit selection.
They have infantry and they have the Norse archers, which are good in melee and all.
Yes, Norse archers. France, an excellent.
And then Spain is always. Venice is
Spain.
always.
Spain, Venice, Portugal, and one of my favorite. Well, actually, never mind. That's more for attacking, but we'll get to that later. But that's a good list. It was like 6 factions there. You should try them out. If you want to challenge, attack with Egypt, attack with the Turks.
Also, like you could actually attack really effectively with the Mongols or Timurids if you get the like good melee archers and all, and you have the Nathatunes. You can first shoot and all. And like what I've seen is when people have a lot of archers on offense, or just even some, if you go up on one wall and then you don't have the thing in front of you, the annoying little barricade things. You don't, and then you just shoot in front, and then they get a perfect volley. That was in one of my last siege battles where Paladin Bob destroyed my Scots Guard very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely a big strategy, a huge strategy when you're attacking, is taking over those walls and getting your archers up there to get really great range, perfect angle. You can just slaughter troops from the wall. So use the wall against them for sure.
Yeah, if you can get a nice like angle to shoot it into the giant blob, you will get a ton of kills, and the archers will get more than you could ever want for worth the money.
That's another reason why you shouldn't just give up the wall if you're defending, because it gives the attackers more options.
And going back to the factions, I forgot to mention the Italian factions actually have a huge buff, especially on the lower monies, because they have the really cheap heavy infantry. And if you just bring the standard, you can get a ton of infantry, and they look awesome, and they perform well.
Yeah, like Milan and Papal
Venice,
States.
Papal States.
Yeah.
Not so much Sicily, because Sicily doesn't have the standard anymore, which is sad.
Yeah, but they're pretty good high money late period.
And I think there's some factions that I would stay away completely from, even like Holy Roman Empire, not a good siege thing. Poland, not a good siege thing. You just don't have archers or the infantry.
Yeah, Poland's pretty garbage. Whether you're fighting on the field or not, they're just.
Let's just take a moment to bash Poland.
It sucks because Poland's so badass. Like the history of Poland and their cav. I mean, they have decent cav in the game, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, you can't just have cav spam because that doesn't even work.
No,
It's
it
just
doesn't.
too expensive.
Holy Roman, they're okay at defending. I think they're okay because they have pikemen and they
Oh yeah, they
have
have the Landsknecht pikemen.
yeah,
I completely forgot about that. I
and
don't
pike
use pikemen,
militia.
that's why.
Yeah,
Pat and Bob would cringe from that statement. Don't use pikemen? What?
pikemen is God. No.
Pikemen is love.
Um, but my favorite attacking faction is the Moors.
Oh, why?
Yeah. Well, they have the dismounted Christian Guard, which are amazing. Also, if you're playing early or feudal or whatever, they're not a late period unit, and they're one of the best. And they have the Hashishim. The Hashishim are extremely good at killing troops on walls
Oh
because
yeah.
yeah,
And if say you're playing a no art battle or you're just using siege equipment for whatever reason, if you go up with Hashishim bringing it, they will take very very few casualties, little to none really,
yeah,
even holding ladders, and then you can just go up and destroy the unit on the wall.
yeah, because it's close quarters and numbers they don't really matter. So Hashishim do very well on the walls. So bringing like 2 or 3 units of them, great pickup. I just really love the Moors. They're and the urban militia. You give them upgrades, they're pretty good too. And they have Javies as
Yeah,
well.
they have the Javies. I wish more factions had Javies. That'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I guess they kind of died off in the medieval time period.
And I think a really underrated faction in Sieges is definitely Russia, because with the dismounted Voir, they're such a good melee unit, even as an like being the archer unit. Also, if you can get, I've seen people like 2 people twice in my entire ever playing Sieges have used it, and when they do, they get so many kills with the Devoir, because first they just destroy everything with archers, archer fire to an extent if it's whatever the right unit, but then they go in with their axes and they damage morale and they just
Yeah,
wreck.
Pierce armor. Are you talking for defense, right?
Yeah, usually for defense,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think on attack because then they don't have the solid infantry to hold.
Well, especially if you have a teammate that can bring solid infantry, it's just a pretty deadly combo, you know?
Yeah.
If you can bring archers that are just as good in melee, you're set. Like, that's a
Yeah.
great unit.
And I'm struggling. I think we've covered pretty much everything for Siege. A lot of it you're going to have to just experience and learning how the game goes.
Well, I think one thing I wanted to cover for attacking, basically, I was saying you have to be patient. I just want to say, like, when you're going for... Oh, sorry about that. I just hit my mic. When you're going for a choke point, don't be afraid to bring up archers really close and just shoot at the defenders.
Oh yeah, that reminds
Yeah.
me. One time where there were defenders holding the first wall, and they didn't have any archers really nearby or any that could shoot at me at a favorable angle. And I was playing as England, so I started running up my longbows to the breach and then shooting into the breach what they were trying
Yeah.
to hold. And then every time they came out, I just run away. It was pretty fun, and then my longbows got more kills than they usually do.
Yeah,
So,
no, see that I see Emperor of the Great Unknown do that all the time. I do that. I think it's a really good strategy. Some people don't like it because it's like
it's
very
a high management tactic.
yeah, and it's not. It's like oh, they're just gonna shoot at me and then run away when I go after them. It's not fun to fight against, but it's definitely a strategy and it's really good. You know.
Yeah,
So
if they don't have any cav, or if they have to bring out their cav and waste it on trying to kill your archers, either way, it's a win. So
yeah.
that's a nice tactic. Any closing thoughts, Apollo?
I just think, bringing solid infantry, bringing decent archers, being patient, don't throw them away, don't spam one choke point, and you'll be a good siege player if you just do that and you work with your team.
Yeah, just have patience and make sure your build is favorable. Don't spam units and waste your money.
Yeah, because if you buy more than four of a unit, it costs the price goes up and up. So
Yeah, especially with the already expensive ones like Conquistadors that people
oh
love
yeah,
to spam.
Conquistador is very good in a siege battle.
Yeah, and that's all. And make sure you work with your teammates, because I think teamwork in a siege is a lot more important than on a field battle. Not to say it's not important in a field battle, but it's just that the teamwork makes little differences, because you can't hold the entire castle on your own. There's too many breaches, too many little things going on.
Yeah, I certainly agree. On both sides, defending and attacking, just teamwork will get you a victory.
Well, yeah, so that's pretty much the basics of Siege. Anything else you're going to have to work on and find
Yeah,
it on your own.
I could talk for hours on Siege. There's so much stuff, like little things, little. But this is for beginners, and this should help beginners get their, foot in the door and really become good Siege players.
Yeah, I think sieges are a little bit easier to learn than field battles because there's less points you can maneuver. It's more slow going, more chess-like.
Yeah,
Described it as.
you have more time to make decisions.
And I'd like to thank you for joining me, Apollo, as the siege master of the area.
No problem. No problem.
All right. And thank you all for watching. I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Tell us if we've missed anything or bash our ideas completely if you think you must. And I hope you guys spread this to any noobs who need it. And I'll see you guys all next time. Goodbye, my friends.
Goodbye.